the music, something about the white man holds his back, and but I don't believe that's the case. I believe it's a misunderstanding. I believe that there are those who look white, but they are what you call Zionists, and they control quite a bit of the media. They control all the news. They control a lot of Hollywood. They control quite a bit everything that you hear today. And, people look at them and say, oh, they're white guys. Yeah, well, they're not really white guys. They are white guys, but they have something else within them that prevails within themselves, that they do the work of their father, if I can say it this way. And, you can't make it all inclusive and say, hey, it's all white guys doing that, because I don't believe that's the case. There's a lot of white guys out here that see the same thing going on and saying, hey, these Zionists, if they control all the media and they control a lot of the movies, they control a lot of what's going on the radio, and if you say something, you're going to lose your job and you're going to be kicked out because this is not the what the choir's singing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what's going on today. And, Lee's mentioning earlier about individuals seeing these things, and we have no power over this because they have ultimate control over the media. They have control over even talk show. But they allow us to say what we want to say.
Any of you could leave, or you hear any?
I can hear.
I can hear you, but you're breaking up. Lee, you still there?
I'm here. I'm here.
The music.
I don't hear anything.
Lee.
I'm here. I'm here.
Are you using Skype?
No, I'm on my cell phone.
You came in just clear right now.
Yeah, I'm using my cell phone. I can hear you just fine.
You're fine right now.
Yeah.
Yep, there's something wrong with talk show tonight.
Yeah.
Well,
Get back to my web.
But when people of like mind, they see what's going on, and if they take the action within themselves to put on a talk show program to make people aware of what's going on, or YouTube or whatever the case may be, over time, I believe that the numbers of people that realize that what's going on will prevail those who are the elitists, who control the medias and so on. And, I believe that most people want to live in peace with one another. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no problem with a black guy trying to make a living for himself and feed his family. But you know what? When I see people pushing drugs in black neighborhoods and so on and destroying families and so on, that pisses me off, even though I'm a white guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I have enough respect for them people to realize that they're being taken advantage of.
Yeah. Yeah.
No more than a white family.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to into this segment talking about a little bit about your culture. In America, but what can you tell us a little about the Chinese culture?
You're breaking up again. I think it's the cell phone's breaking up. Do you have landline?
Tom, I only have the cell phone right here, but
Yeah, Lee,
I mean, I could hear the caller, but for you, Chad, I can't really hear you. You cut in and out.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay, you might have to hang up.
You said hang up?
Might have to call back in, Lee.
Call back the same number?
Lee's coming in quite clear to me.
Let's see what happens. Okay, you guys sound clear to you?
Lee sounds all right. I can't hear you. You're breaking up.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so you're saying I'm breaking up, okay.
I can hear you now, though, Chad. I can hear you.
Yeah, you're coming okay right now, but every once in a while you'll break up.
Tom, she was tripping, man.
I mean, I can hear you right there.
Okay, it sounds good now. Why don't you go ahead and say what you're going to say?
Okay, I was trying to ask Lee, I want to ask Lee what you think of Chinese culture, and I want to tell you my perspective on Asians in America. I think it's different from yours, but what can you tell us a little bit about Chinese culture, Lee?
Well, Chinese culture is, I'm still, trying to learn a lot more about it, and I think it's going to take a lifetime, but it's just kind of like, trying to go back to my roots and learn more and more about it. But I think there's something that they could teach, like us Americans or the people in America. There's something very valuable that they could teach to us, and it's basically like, it's like the opposite of like what we're normally used to. Because we're normally kind of used to like fighting like oppression, with our own force. In a way like, if somebody like punches us, we punch them back. Somebody yells at us, we yell at them. But the Chinese culture, in their way, they kind of fight back in a different way. It's more of a subtle way, and I guess we even see it with the economy right now. China didn't really like forcefully like hurt America, but they're in a way that they've taken a lot of the jobs from America, and and now China's becoming like one of the one of the world's superpowers, like right next to America. And even if you see it in you see it in the Olympics, China's like right there with America. Sometimes they even beat America. It's like America's #1 with the most gold medals, and then who's right next to them? China. So China, they're like in a way. They're kind of like in a way like subtly like gaining power through like more of a way where it's not like so direct, like it's not like directly fighting back like lashing out or whatever, or like say for example like Malcolm X is like more of a Western approach, like let's fight back and let's change the laws. But the Chinese are more like, what, we're gonna you're not going to pay us that much, but we're still going to work hard, and what we'll do is we'll save a lot of money, and then we'll run our own business, and then we'll do our own thing. We'll create a Chinatown, for example. We'll save our money, we'll build our own community, we'll create a Chinatown, and then now you got a lot of like whites and blacks and Americans going to Chinatown, spending all their money in Chinatown, and then they're making more money off of the Americans. Just like we shipped all our jobs over there. And they're basically learning to like, what? They're like, it is messed up. We are being oppressed, but we can still work very hard and we can still make the changes, but it just takes more time. So I think there's a lot that could be learned, as far as like merging, like in a way the African American or like the black mentality, which is more of like a forceful, like aggressive, like high energy mentality, and then the Chinese culture is more like the opposite, like the yin and gentle, like softer way of like making a change. So I think there's a balance that needs to be achieved. Like basically, like people like Malcolm X and Tupac, they need to learn from like Dalai Lama or like the sages of the East, like Buddha, like people that are more calm and learning how to like change the world through like inner wisdom, something that's more subtle, opposed to just like direct force. So I mean, it's the same thing with the Art of War, written by Sun Tzu. I mean, that's like one of the main like basically golden books that all military people like abide by, and it's written by a Chinese person. I mean, the art of war is basically teaching like military tactics how to win wars. And that's written by a Chinese person. I mean, there's a lot of like things from China that we need to learn from. I mean, I looked at another documentary not too long ago. They're talking about how the Chinese came up with like gunpowder and paper and all this technology like hundreds of years before America even knew about it. You know, and America is learning off of
Gutenberg and before Gutenberg as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that America could learn from China. You know, like notice, like for example, the blacks like, you know what? We're not working for no pay. You're gonna pay us money. You know, and we're not gonna be slaves. And they're fighting back. They're like, you know what? We need equality. We need to make a change. But then you see the people in power like, okay, well, then we're gonna throw you all in jail. And we're gonna oppress you guys. We're gonna have you kill each other by having black on black crime. So they're like orchestrating all this stuff to like oppress the blacks. And then the Chinese, the people in power are oppressing the Chinese. They're like, we're gonna make you guys do the slave labor that the blacks don't want to do. And then the Chinese are like, you know what? Fine, we'll do it. We'll do it, and what we'll do, we'll save all the money and we'll overtake the whole thing. Because now everything's being made out of China. The phone that I'm speaking on is probably made out of China. The clothes that I'm wearing is made out of China. Every product that we use is made out of China. So they're like basically, in a way, through the back door, like almost overtaking America. Through the back door, without like bombing America and being like, oh, you know, we're going to take over America. They're taking America over through the back door. Like America has like a high debt with China. They owe like China a bunch of...
Explain that to people. Keep going.
You know, they owe China a bunch of money and everything. You know, America shipped all their jobs over to China. Now, people in America don't even have jobs anymore. So, like, the Chinese, in a way, they're like, you know, they're being like very... The way that they fight back is very subtle. You know, it's kind of like say, like, a person pisses you off and then you just want to punch him in the nose and you fight him right there. That's like the black way of fighting back. Like you fight back immediately. But the Chinese way of fighting back is like, okay, I'm not gonna punch you back right now. I'm gonna stay quiet, and then they just kill you in the sleep when you're not even ready for it. I mean, I'm using that as an extreme example in war, but I'm just saying that the Chinese, like the way that they make changes is different than the average way that Americans make change. And that's kind of what I'm trying to communicate with you right now, is you're asking me, what do we need to do to make the change in this world? And you're thinking in terms of politics, and in terms of like changing the law, in terms of like, you know, running for a political position. But that's not the answer to me. From my eyes, the way that the Chinese do it, or the Chinese culture, is through like meditation, is through like making that change within your inner self. And it's like a different way. You know, it's like we're so used to like what they call like the yang way, the aggressive way. But the Chinese know about the gentle way, like the yin way. You know, and that's basically like the secret to me of what the Americans, what we need to learn. You know, because that's what's going to make us stronger, you know, in what we do. You know, and basically I think the blacks have a lot to learn from the Chinese, but then the Chinese have a lot to learn from the blacks, because there's a lot of Chinese people out there that are afraid to speak against authority. Like they'll just bow down to everybody and everything. But I don't see that that's the case. That's not the best at all times. You know, sometimes you gotta rebel. Be like, you know what? I'm not having this. I'm fighting back, and I'm gonna fight back hard. But basically, the blacks have to learn from the Chinese that sometimes it's not worth the fight. You know, somebody calls you the N-word. You know, you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life because he calls you the N-word. Are you serious? Is it that serious to you? You know, like, just hold back your anger, hold back your temper, calm down a little bit, you know, get him back later. You know what I'm saying? I mean, get him back in a different way, in a more intelligent way. You know, so it's just like fighting, you're fighting back, but you don't have to fight back violence with violence. It's just basically... I mean, this will not work. I mean, the police officers, they got the guns and everything. You can't fight back like that. So how you fight back, the Chinese way of fighting back, for example, you fight back with the law. Be like, you know what, an officer did you wrong. You're not gonna fight him physically, but you will fight him with the law or something. You might be like study the law. You might know the law. You might hire a really good lawyer and you fight back like more intellectually. You know, so.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that. I mean, people who were fighting back in the civil rights movement with force too, because people want to believe that the civil rights movement was all about peace and unity. That's BS. There were people like Robert F. Williams, Malcolm X. There were people actually fighting back against the corrupt system. So it wasn't all just protest and peace. That crap doesn't work really. It needs to be by force as well. But I know what you mean. But I think boycotting and using some force might be necessary. But listen, I wanted to ask you something about Asian Americans in America. And can you still hear me, Mr.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good. So I wanted to ask you that, you know, in the 90s there has been an epidemic of Asians killing black people, especially in Koreans, and Asians treating black people like crap in you know, black and Asian-owned restaurants and gating up there. I mean, there's some robberies in some black communities, but they just seem to have like a racially profiled expert on black people. And in China, there was actually a sign that there was actually a restaurant that said no blacks allowed. You know, so I really want to talk about that because I believe Asians have power in America because a lot of Asians own restaurants and have money and work together as a community. So, and you just said that China was going to be a superpower. So I just want to ask you again, do you believe in the concept of Asian supremacy, and do you think there's a lot of Asians that hate black people?
I mean, like I said, you know, I try not to look at the racial thing, but if you say the Asian supremacy, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if it's a white supremacist, a black supremacist, or Asian supremacist. It's just like there's somebody that's oppressing people, or there's people that are oppressing people. There's people that are abusing their powers, and that's where the problem is. So, say for example, hypothetically, say China like overtook America, and then now the Chinese, the president of the United States is a Chinese person, and then he decides to just oppress white people, black people, or whoever. I mean, like that can happen, you know. I mean, but the fact of the matter is, we're talking about like just people that are just not. They're not utilizing their powers responsibly. So somebody like Hitler, he's not Chinese, he's not black, you know, but he oppressed people, and that's the problem. And yeah, there are Chinese people that oppress people. It's happening all over China, and yeah. They can oppress black people, they can oppress white people, they can oppress their own people. They don't care who they oppress. They'll oppress somebody. And that happens with every single race, black, white, or Chinese. So
what I'm trying to explain is, like I just told you, there's Asian restaurants that talk about black people and profile black people. And there's been cases where they just shot black people. In Arab countries, there's places where they kill black people, you know. So I'm just saying, in a lot of areas, they tend to not like the black people of the nation. But what I'm trying to ask you is, I mean, do you think that a growing number of Asians do not like black people? That's my question.
I mean, I can only speak in regards to my own experiences and my observances, but I would say that may be true. That there may be a lot of there may be true. You know, like as far as
can I mention something?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Lee, are you Chinese?
Well, Chinese American, I guess, if I'm gonna label myself anything.
Yeah. You know, and it's quite interesting. And I take it that the host here, are you black?
Yes, sir, black male.
Yeah, and you got a Chinese guy, and I'm a white guy. You know, and it's quite interesting. We got us three here together. But, you know, I believe there's an intrinsic heritage within each one of us to resent other races. And, you know, I believe that myself, this is my own personal view. I'm not saying that for you or Lee, but I know that Hollywood pushes a lot of stuff out there in the media, and one of the things they're pushing today is race mixing. And a lot of people do accept it, and a lot of people do resent that. But, you know, the Chinese people, for example, they have been around for 12 to 14,000 years. Their civilizations have. And, you know, if you was to compare civilizations to other races, they have some of the oldest civilizations that have been in existence. The black race, they really don't have any civilizations to look back upon. And that's not to their discredit, but that's the way they are as a race.
That, sir.
I'm sorry?
I would disagree with you about that, sir.
Well, today, one of the things that they're doing is they're trying to contribute to the black race to the creation of the Egyptian Empire, which is not true.
I knew you were going to say that. I kind of knew you were going to say that, but I think you need to hit colors one, hit colors two. And I think you need to do some research.
Well, no, look, don't be offended. Let me make my comments now, and then I'll listen to you, okay? That's not to say that there wasn't black races during the time of the Egyptian empires. There was. And that's true. You can see it on the hieroglyphics on the walls and stuff. There's black, there's Chinese, and there's also white. But they were a multicultural society just as we are today. We are multicultural, and we have many different races. But when they first started off, just as this country first started off, it was predominantly white. And as time went on, they integrated other races, and so it was in the Egyptian Empire. And there were black pharaohs later on, just as we have a black president even today in this country. And so we don't want to take these societies and say, hey, look, they were created by one particular society. Multiculturalism has been going on much longer than you and I might think. They've been going on for thousands of years. One thing I can say about the Chinese society, though, they were not multicultural. They did keep themselves separate. Today, they've become multicultural.
Do you agree with that, Mr. Lee?
I mean, I think I pretty much would agree with that. You know, as far as the Chinese, like, I mean, I never really been there, but I mean, just looking at all the stuff that I've been reading and watching, there's not that many other races over there. You know, there's a lot of it, they kind of stick to their own over there for the most part, you know.
Multiculturalism is not something new that we have today. That has always been around. It goes back for thousands of years. But what happens is multiculturalism does not work among societies, among races. What the problem is, we try to integrate the races, and the races, we're not compatible because each race has its own respect. The black race has its respect as to the characteristics of that black race. The Chinese have the characteristics of their race. The whites do, and the other races as well, whatever they may be, have their characteristics. And there's nothing wrong with races being in a same geographical area, but you have to respect the races. You have to respect the Chinese for the qualities that they have. You have to respect the black.
Hey, excuse me. I want to check something. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Definite maybe. What, did you hear that?
I heard a maybe, yeah.
Okay, you heard that's a definite maybe. I'm just checking the people. Did you hear it, Lee?
Yeah.
Okay, good. My audio works, but I can't get in my chat room. But keep going, sir.
Yeah. It's not to be disrespectful to other races, but, you know, the quality that each race has to be respected. For example, the Chinese, they're very good at re-engineering. There's no doubt about it. And that's why the technology they have today has been re-engineered. And they use a lot of European engineer. And they have built up on that engineer. You know, the black race has the ability to adapt to other cultures as well, but they have other qualities that may not be compatible with the white race or the Chinese race. You know, but that's their society, and so that's why, you know, when we try to integrate, it causes problems. Even the white race, they have problems with the black race or the Chinese race. And so then when that separatism is respected, but at the same time the quality of each race can be used in a way that profits all races, I think that it would work much better myself. But today, multiculturalism is not working, and we see that in America today and Europe.
Okay, so you're from Europe, sir?
No, I'm not. I'm up in the New England states.
Okay. I'm going to play a music clip because there's several on my chat. Please hold on, folks.